This is Carrie and Summer with the Say My Name podcast that gives a voice to women's stories. It's my story, it's your story, it's our stories of pain and healing.
Betrayal doesn't begin to describe the knife that I pulled out of my side. So I'ma put the past behind me, 'cause I got strength inside me, and a strength that I wanna share with you.
Welcome to the Say My Name podcast, episode 13. This was such an incredible interview. We got to hear two stories of Nick Tillia and Courtney Tillia, some of the most amazing coaches in the world right now. Such inspirational people. This interview was on fire. We absolutely love this couple. We love them individually and we love them together. So get ready to be inspired. So we will start right in. And this is lucky number 13 for us. This is podcast.
Love 13.
And so, as you know, our podcast is about telling your story.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you both have one. I know you have one together. So I think we kind of want to start with that. And, you know, I know your kind of financial story. And Nick, I know your story of finding your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So, and kind of going through that pain and healing. But I don't know very much of Courtney's story. So, but we'd love to hear both of them separately and together.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess as far as like my purpose story,
It all begins as a little child in Colorado.
Yeah.
we're gonna go way back. No, like
Dude, yeah.
I really started off.
Canal.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
When I was moving through the birth canal,
Right? Totally.
As I exited the vagina, took one look at my dad,
And was like, oh shit.
fuck, send me back.
I feel like I kind of jumped all around like that child who was looking for different things. Like I started off with like getting my pilot's license because I was dead set I was going to go to the military, and then got like a full ride scholarship to go to Texas A&M and be in the military, and was like, oh, this is so not for me.
Wait, you're not going to tell people you're in the ROTC?
I was in ROTC and was like the commander of it. And so I was just very into that discipline and structured lifestyle is what I craved. And then got there and was like, oh, I hate this, like the college style. And was like, started off in aerospace engineering and was like, I don't fit in here. Like, it was just like, this is not my vibe. And I was like, what is something that I've always loved? And I was like, I've always wanted to be a teacher. So I went, I did that, finished my schooling, graduated as a teacher, and went and worked full-time as a special ed teacher. Fast forward 5 years later, and I was like starting to lose my shit. I was married, I had 2 kids, and I was really feeling very low self-esteem, and just, it was starting to really impact me emotionally, but like in my marriage, and me being able to show up for my kids, and me being able to even show up as a teacher. Just when you don't feel comfortable in your body and then you don't feel comfortable in your clothes, it's hard to be there in a classroom and be able to bring your full presence and bring your full energy to that. And so I was like, I have to do something, and decided that competing and losing weight was going to be how I would get my confidence, my body back. And so I really dove into like competing, losing weight, and then found that I really loved my own experience and then being able to give that to other women. And so I really started doing it for myself, continued teaching until I had hit about a rock bottom my 6th year as a teacher, where I got to a point where I was so emotionally low that I had started to sabotage everything that I created and loved in my life. So my marriage, my kids, going to the gym, the things that I had grown to really love, I was starting to like trash and trying to get rid of. And so finally over winter break, Nick was like, we've got to do something. Like, this isn't working, and it won't work if like something doesn't change. And he was like, what would you do if money wasn't an obstacle? If it wasn't anything? And I was like, honestly, I would be in the gym all day. And he was like, great, then do that. And so when school resumed,
which was fucking stupid that I said this, because at the time, this was in my first year of coaching. I had left my teaching job. I was staying at home with the boys, and trying to run a coaching business while I have 2 little tiny terrorists just absolutely wrecking my fucking life and the house and everything. Courtney's kind of like in her masculine, taking care of the family, working, doing all that. And I was not bringing in money yet to sustain us. It wasn't like, oh, my coaching business is thriving. Babe, you can quit. I'll bring you home. We can do all that. It was not in a good place, but I knew like if we didn't do something that we wouldn't have a family anymore, because she was heading down that place, and just our disconnect because I was trying to live my purpose, but I didn't have like the capacity or the time or the freedom to be able to fully do so. And she definitely wasn't living hers being a teacher. So it was fucking stupid looking back, and I'm like, holy shit, like we really rolled the dice when we did that, but it was exactly what had to happen to literally save our family at the time.
Yeah. And so after winter break, I went in and told them that I was going to resign from my teaching position, and that I would finish out the rest of the school year, but that I would not be coming back. And from that moment, like they were devastated, just because I was a special ed teacher, and finding special ed teachers to fill those spots is very difficult.
Yeah.
From that moment of me resigning, I already felt so much freedom, even though I still had like 4 months left of teaching. Yeah. There was an end in sight that gave me the freedom to like begin to really come home to like, who am I? What do I want? What do I want to experience? How do I want to feel every day? And what do I want to be able to give to others from that place? And so it really gave me the opportunity to do that. And then from there, I quit. I started my personal training business, did that for about 2 years, and was like, I really desire to take women to not just the body, but to the next level of really diving into the emotional and the mental place, and for them to really create the life they've always desired. And so I really started to shift from the body to the mental and emotional space. And that is where I'm at today.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was in a coaching program with Nick, and that program that I was in, Nick was one of the coaches, and we were being taught how to put together an online business for coaching. And when I was in that, I was all in. I just thought, this is like the answer. This is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And very quickly into it, I thought, no, I don't want to coach people to teach them how to do macros. I don't want to, do the whole scale and give all these workouts. I just thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it's interesting because I watched you, because I followed Nick, and I saw you going through yours, and you were kind of the same as me. You were doing the fitness thing and fitness coaching, and then you shifted as well. I'm like, this is really cool. We're both kind of on the same path of starting one way and really shifting more into the mindset part and just working on the internal work. And that's just my passion, as well as what I can see. Everything that you post is just so beautiful and so targeted to specific women. And it's amazing. Like, you can see the passion that you have in it.
Thank you so much. I really am passionate because I can see such a desire from women. Like, you can just feel it. You don't even have to say anything, but you can feel that they want more. And I want them to have that, because I have that, and I want everyone to get to experience that.
Right. So let's rewind a little bit. When you talked about, wanting to achieve, Nick has mentioned a few things about you just in our coaching, just about when you were a teenager or when you were a child, and that feeling of not enoughness, and that you had to compete in order to feel like that's where you received love and attention.
Yeah, so I really felt in my family, being born a woman or a girl was my immediate disadvantage, was just immediate. Like, if you were born a boy, you were already put on a pedestal. And so for me, I felt like I was born disadvantaged immediately, and always felt like I needed to compensate to be seen, to be heard, to be loved, to be accepted. And so I realized very quickly that if I was an overachiever, that I would be loved. And so I went down this path of like, well, I'll be the most loved because I'll have more certificates and achievements than anyone in this whole family. And so that's when I got like a pilot's license, and I got scholarships to space camp, and became like, I have like 2 scuba diving certifications and a bachelor's and a master's. And then I was a year away from graduating with my PhD, and was like, what am I doing? Like, I am continuing to get down this path and I'm not enjoying it. And I'm really not getting love and accepted either way. And so I was like, it's really time for me to focus on what I want and what I love and what I want to be. And so I quit a year away from graduating, and my family's like, what are you doing? You've lost it. Like, you might as well finish. You might as well get those great, beautiful 3 letters before your name. And I was like, I'm just not. There's no point to me wasting the time, the money, my effort, my energy, my family's time for me to get this certificate that's not going to be used. And that's when it all kind of stopped.
I remember asking her one day, I was like, what are we doing? Like, is this PhD or these letters and being able to call yourself Dr. Tillia, like, is it worth what you're going through and all that? And I asked her the question, I was like, if you knew you were approved already, if you knew that you were enough already, if you knew that the validation, your self-approval, if that was all that mattered, would you continue down this path? And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, like, do what you got to do. Like, and the people like, you were a year away from a master, from your doctorate, like, just finish it. Like, but I always say, like, if you're going down the wrong path, doesn't matter how fucking far you've gone down that path, like, stop, turn around and get back on your path. And it's one of the most courageous things I've ever seen, to walk away from that. Especially because of everything that she had at stake in that as well. Approval from the family, like all the things that she thought she could have got as soon as she got that. So it was one of the most courageous things I've ever seen.
And for me too, like, I was held back in first grade. I just wasn't emotionally ready to be there. And so I wasn't present to learn the academics. So I was held back. And so it was something that I was always made fun of for, like, what is first grade? It's about coloring. It's about cutting. Like, you couldn't do those things. And so for me, above and beyond the love and acceptance for school, it was about proving that I was smart enough, because you're not going to question if I'm smart enough, if I'm a doctor. So it was also about proving, like, it's all about overcompensating for something that I felt a deficit at my heart.
So walk me through that moment when you were like, wait a second, this isn't working. I've tried so hard and you guys still don't accept me for this? Or how did that happen?
I think it's a process. I think we hit these roadblocks throughout. One was the conversation with Nick that was like, what are we doing? Like, you're not happy anyway. So what are we going for? But also, like, we all hit, like, with my modeling career too, like, there's times where I was like, I won't be accepted and loved for this. And so there's times when I've tried to trash parts of, like, I've tried to get rid of my entire modeling portfolio, because there was a part of me that was like, you won't be loved and accepted for this part of who you are. And so I've tried to get rid of it. And so it's like moving past the, like, people will love and accept you for you. And it really doesn't matter the different parts.
She was going to delete an Instagram with 40,000 people following her on there. Big audience, lots of inspiration, so many people loving what she did, because there's a part of her that believed, like, we're never going to get the love from grandpa, grandma, the family, everybody on this side of the family, if we continue to show up sexy, if we continue to, express ourselves in this way. Like, she was literally ready to do that. And has at times, like, tried to sabotage that shit, even like not consciously get rid of it, but sabotage it.
Yeah.
And so again, like, her courage to be herself, knowing what parts of her belief is still at stake, and deciding that she is enough no matter what, and enough before. It's just massive courage, and it's such an inspiration, I know, to many women out there who are in the same boat of not feeling enough, of not trusting that they're going to be supported as they honor their desires, and even of overcoming the shame that comes from, like, expressing yourself and being honest and true to yourself. So
yeah. Summer and I have actually had a handful of discussions about Courtney's Instagram and Facebook, and just, I mean, it's beautiful. We've discussed how we just think it's so amazing that you are in a space to be able to step into that, because not a lot of women are willing to do that. They want to, but they're not willing to because they know that there is going to be judgment of your character and who you are. But yet so many women want to be able to express them way in whatever way they want, and everybody's is different. And you are being that so boldly. And we just think like, fuck yes, like do it, girl, like show it all. And trigger people, trigger them, because when we are triggered and when we are affected and we have an opinion about something, it is always within something within. And so I can look inwards and go, why does that offend me? Why does that trigger me? Why do I have an opinion of this person just feeling beautiful and completely confident in who they are? And showing how beautiful the woman's body is, and stepping into her femininity. There's just so much to what you're expressing with just a picture. You don't even have to say a word, but then your content is so beautiful that is along with it. But just the picture alone is something that can help people to grow and expand if they're just willing to go, why does that affect me?
Yeah, absolutely.
So a couple of things. A very similar thing happened when I was in my early 20s. I did some modeling, and I started a portfolio, and I'd done some things, and I remember showing my mom, and she said, I told you this story.
Yeah.
It had like come back to me in such a big way when we first started out, and she looked at it, she's like, wow, Summer, that's like soft porn. And I was like, what? I worked really hard for this, and that was it. Like, I didn't do anything else after that. I had opportunities but turned them down. And so when we first started out, and we posted a picture of us on the beach in our swimming suits,
like literally to here. Yeah. I don't think we even showed the full body.
And I was like, Carrie, we got to take it down. We got to take it down.
Well, first of all, back up a little bit. So Summer, I didn't realize that she had such like a fear around showing herself. And she would post pictures of us, and it would literally be like cut off at our neck.
I was like, don't you love this picture? And she's
I'm
like, no.
It looks weird. Why are we cut off? Like, why are we just heads? And I didn't realize that she was so afraid of showing herself in any way that might possibly be sexy. And
it's not anymore.
Yeah, I know. But I turned her to the other side.
So when I said, Carrie, I don't know if I can do this. I think we should probably take it down. I had people like commenting to me, and she was like, okay, I need you to go to Courtney Tillia's Instagram. I was like, who?
Because she didn't think anybody posted
to Courtney
anything.
Tillia's page. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh.
Okay, we're good. Yeah.
Okay, we're fine.
We're
totally fine.
Yeah.
We got this. And we have a long ways to go.
Pretty much, I post pretty modest pictures. I mean, I try to pick ones that look, attractive, and there's some sexy ones, but not really. And even still, I have had people that have slut shamed me and told me, do you really, I would think twice about the pictures you post, because what are you trying to show people?
Right.
What are you trying, you're such a good coach. Why would you want to, be that type of a person to like, show yourself this way? And I'm thinking, I really questioned myself, thinking, wait, am I being a bad person by posting these pictures that could be deemed as sexual, and that, somebody might
give the wrong message.
Right. And somebody might see as inappropriate. And, honestly, like, you have inspired me to just go, no, I'm going to post what I want. And there's no apologies for it. I know what type of coach I am. I know what type of person I am. And I love this beautiful picture of me, and I'm going to post it because it just shows me in my femininity. It shows me, in a good angle. It shows me in all different ways. And there's nothing wrong with this. So
how do you handle that? Because I know you've heard that before. How do you handle that? Are you sure this is the image you want to portray? Are you sure that this is how you want to show up?
I get it all the time. And, I guess recently I've gotten a lot of religious backlash.
Yeah, I saw a couple of those. And you were like, oh, did we just get saved? Hallelujah.
I love to interject on those ones.
I actually haven't heard about that. So do tell about that.
Oh, just people telling me like I'm going to hell. What would Jesus say? And if you don't know my coach, Danielle Randall, she is incredible. But when I would come to her with my own, like, I'm not a good coach, like a good coach means that they're wearing a blazer with a freaking button-up shirt all the way buttoned up, and that's what a good coach looks like. And she said, God told you that? And I was like, no, God didn't tell me that. She's like, God put those desires in your heart for a reason. She's like, because let me tell you, modeling or being in front of the camera is my worst nightmare. I hate it. And so for me, I was like, you're right. Like, I'm so close and connected with God. I have such a close conversation that if you're telling me I'm going to hell, I feel like you're talking about my best friend, but like, we have a different relationship. Like, I don't understand your story, that's not who my friend is, and that's not who I talk to every day. So it's like a disregard. I'm like, we're not talking about the same person. Yeah. So like, I've been able to move through those things with being like, actually, like my desires came from God, and I'm so close and connected, and I know I'm a good coach, that has nothing to do with me being professional or my knowledge or my smartness or my enoughness or my worthiness. And so, yeah, sorry, I got distracted. I was getting a phone call.
And there's been a lot of moments where she was either like, can I post this? And I'm like, you better fucking post that. I was like, we didn't come this far for you to fucking hold back now. You better post that shit.
Yeah.
But also where she was really like, you know, whether it being like the content that she adds to the photo or the photo itself, of that conflict between like, will people see me as a legitimate, serious coach to be able to support people, or they just see me as this? And the question that I always present is like, you're fucking both. Why can't you be both?
Yeah.
Why can't you be both? And this, the physical demonstration of it is just as important as what you're writing along with the content. And she's had people say like, oh, your content's so great. Why do you have to bastardize it? Why do you have to diminish it with the sexy photos and stuff like that? Sex sales, like all these just awful judgmental shaming type things. And so like just continuing to be courageous in that, she just continues to put it out. And having that foundation in God, like I know she knows, like God would never tell me to not express myself. God would tell me to fucking just express myself, that I was given all this for a fucking purpose. So I better express it in the way that God wants me to.
Right.
Yeah. And there's been also so much inspiration, like even though I get a message or two or whatever of the negativity, the positivity that comes from it so overweighs it. Like for the 2 messages that are negative, I get at least like 100 that are like, thank you so much, you inspire me. And there's even so many moms that are like in their 50s and 60s, and they're like, I finally feel like I can be myself or be creative in a way that feels good to me. And so I'm like, that is what keeps me going. Like, not your.
And she'll get messages like, I wore this like out tonight because I was feeling sexy and you inspired me. Or I'm inspired to like, I want to do a boudoir shoot. Like I've always wanted to do it, but I like would never allow myself to. And you've inspired me. Like the messages, she gets hundreds and hundreds of messages, like almost like every week of inspiration. And so like the 2 or 3 that she gets that are judgmental and whatever, like, of course it'll like bring up shit and be like, is this really okay? And you get to move through it. But the impact she's having, it far exceeds any of the criticism.
Which is beautiful, because that when those people trigger you, you have the opportunity to be able to work through some of those wounds and pains that this person now has brought up for you to be able to heal.
Absolutely.
So in those situations, I really have this appreciation for those people that have slut shamed me and said different things, because they've actually helped me solidify, no, this is what I want to do. And this is how I want to show up on social media and in my coaching business. And one thing I was telling Summer is that when she was kind of working through her, issues and insecurities with showing up and showing herself in not just mom mode, is that I asked her almost, so when you followed me on social media and you started looking at my posts, what were your thoughts? Did you think that I was a whore? Did you think that I was a slut? And did you not think that I was a credible coach? She said, absolutely not. Like, those pictures inspired me. I wanted to know more about you. I wanted to train with you. She reached out to me. So not everybody is going to be your client, or not everybody's going to resonate with you. But like, when you show up unapologetically who you are and authentically who you are, the right people are going to be, oh, hell yeah, I love her, and her story, her message resonates with me.
It's a great way to polarize the wrong people and to draw in the people who are right for you. And Like,
we've definitely experienced that.
you never have to not be yourself to bring people in, because the people who are only there because you're watering down or hiding or suppressing something, like those aren't your people anyways. And you want the people who can really like respond to you by you being all out who you're meant to be. And so like a lot of people, like Courtney sometimes gets the messages like your body actually triggers me, makes me feel bad, makes me feel this. So even if you trigger somebody by expressing a true part of you, it is of service to them that they are triggered in that, because they get to, like, where it doesn't serve them if they're just triggered and that's the end of it. But if they're triggered and they're willing to examine, why does this bother me? What is it that she's expressing that I wish I could express? What does she have that I wish I could have? What does she have that I don't think I'm allowed to have or I'm not allowed to express? And that's a beginning point for great self-examination and a lot of growth.
Right.
One of the things that I appreciate the very most about what you do, Courtney, is because a lot of my fears about showing up come from like my childhood, my mom, whatever, but also because of the sexual trauma that I've experienced. And so what your pictures say to me is that we don't have to be afraid to show up and to speak out and to use our voice, because so many women are afraid of repercussions physically, emotionally, culturally, socially. And so to me, it just reinforces that there's no place for that. Mm-hmm. There's no place for intimidation. There's no place for aggression. There's only a place for us to show up in exactly how we want to show up, regardless of what that means to anyone else.
Yes.
But only what it means to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And she had that in her childhood where like sexual advances or weird stuff from like teachers or authority figures, like she realized like later she had suppressed like her sexuality, her femininity. One of her patterns is like she would just like eat more than anybody around. And her belief was like, if I can just eat, I'll make myself unattractive and unappealing, and that's the safest thing for me.
Yeah.
So, like tons of emotional work that she's gone through to get to where she is. Mm-hmm. It's not like some people see her and they're like, oh my God, I wish I had that confidence. I wish I could do that. I wish I could be that. It's not just the work that she put in the gym. It's the work that she put in working through emotions and being coached and being uncomfortable with shit that has her where she's at now and able to serve people from that place.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And I love that it ends up being a place of service, because I know for us, like that's our highest and greatest calling. Mm-hmm. That's what we've, especially as a special ed teacher, so I'm a speech pathologist, like that's exactly what drove me to do that is, I want to serve, I want to help always. And so it's beautiful that we get to do both things, show up in exactly who we are. And in that way, we're able to serve other people.
Yes, absolutely.
What feels good to you is also a service to everybody else. And even like where your pain was, where your suffering, where your trauma was, there's a pathway to your purpose and what you're meant to serve and help other people with. So like all three of you, like the women that you're serving and who you're showing up for, like you guys know I serve a lot of women, and this type of full authentic expression and owning your sexuality, owning like you can be, you can be sexual, you can be pretty, you can feel good in yourself and be a mom and be a coach and be taken seriously and be professional and being all those things. It's so fucking needed. So y'all fucking badasses. I love you.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. And you can do all of that in your feminine energy. And that's one thing that I absolutely love, besides the pictures that you post, but also just the message that you give, that the importance and the power of being in your feminine energy. And that's been something, my story is different than yours, but I very much felt like I needed to prove something, and really was in my masculinity for, I don't know about in my childhood, but definitely all of my adult life up until literally this last year have I like finally started to go, maybe it isn't weak to be feminine and to be in that flow. And it's just, I'm just starting to kind of, get into that. And I actually went through a space where my body almost kind of was detoxing the masculine energy. I was just like so tired. And I didn't realize how much being in my masculine energy was making me tired.
It's exhausting.
I stepped out of it and was going into my feminine. It was just like my body just went, like, fuck you for doing this for so long.
Yes.
now it's like, oh my gosh, this feels so much better. This feels like ease. This feels like flow.
Yeah.
I'm excited to now do this into this new path that Summer and I going, and Summer's right on board with me. Both of us are like, let's be in our feminine, let's be in our creative, let's be in our flow, let's be in our receiving. And that just feels so natural to me. Yeah. And I mean, that is your main thing that you preach is the importance of being in your feminine energy and how beautiful that is and how powerful that is. And I love that.
Yeah, we have so much power from that place. And like you said, one, like emotion, like how your body feels is a huge part, but like you get to express and create, like everything beautiful really comes from that place. And I remember always thinking like masculine was me getting stuff done. Like if I wanted to get something done, I needed to go to this energy. And actually I get things done so much more beautifully from a place of femininity. And like, even when I have to deal with like things that aren't so great, like Wells Fargo, if
this is not an endorsement against any bank.
It's an
Wells Fargo.
But if I've had it in the past where I just immediately I'm upset, and so I immediately go masculine and forceful, and I want this done and this and this. And if I actually stay in my femininity, it's received differently, and what I desire as the outcome actually comes so much easier.
Yes, true.
And not only easier for me, but it's also easier for the people on the other side, and it's just a much more peaceful place. And what I realized too is the more you go back and forth, like if you're in your feminine all the time and you have a moment where you go to your masculine, it's so obvious.
Right.
Like I always say, I go into like a fuck it mode. I'll eat anything. I'll do anything. I try and lead. I just like, it's like almost like a rampage.
Yeah.
And so it's like just a place where we're not meant to really work from. Yeah. We're meant to be in that tour.
And for the male perspective from this, for the women listening, when a woman is in her feminine, a real man will fucking do anything. Like when she is embodying her feminine, I don't care what, like, I don't even listen to what she asked me to do. I'll just go fucking do it. Like, go run in the ocean. You got it, babe. Like, how far do you want me to go? Like, I will do anything. And men will go to any length for a woman in her feminine, where if a woman is in her masculine and maybe bossing them around or like just not in her embodied place, it just feels weird and off for us. And it's just a natural thing. And for a woman in the feminine, like, we will go to any extent for you. 100%.
That was a huge aha for me this year.
What happened? Give me the tea.
Do tell.
Yes. Is just as I was kind of going through just the relationships that I've been in my life, and just thinking like, what's gone wrong? And it really was me being in my masculine and attracting men that looked masculine, but obviously weren't fully in their masculine, or else we wouldn't have attracted each other. But they came in and I'm wanting them to be masculine, but I'm being masculine. So it just was this constant just disappointment and butting heads and, bumping chests of like, who's going to be the masculine. And
Courtney always says her women, like to women are like, I want you to step up. I don't know why you are. Like, that's the underlying feeling. But then you're standing there like in the middle, like, I fucking dare you to try to step up. I dare you. Just sitting in the signals.
Me, totally, absolutely, yeah. And it's going to be fun as I'm doing more in my feminine energy. When I am kind of like diving into relationships again, it'll be fun to see what comes up and what type of men I attract, because that's ultimately what I want, a man that's in his masculinity. And I was always so frustrated, like, come on, step up, dude. Like, and of course they couldn't. I was up above them going the same exact thing, like, I dare you.
But then why aren't you stepping up?
Yeah. So, that was just such an amazing aha, and really humbling, because I was always like, these stupid men. And it's like, well, no, duh, of course.
No, duh.
Of course. No duh.
No duh.
And for the women that like have an association with the feminine being like weak or submissive, that is not it. The feminine is fucking powerful.
Yeah.
The feminine manifests everything she wants. The feminine creates. The feminine knows, like, the prerequisite for being in your feminine is that you're fucking enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't believe you're enough, then you'll try to do everything and achieve and do all that masculine shit. The feminine knows, I am enough already. I have nothing to fucking prove. I just get to be the flower. I get to be the pot of gold. I get to be the honey pot, whatever you call it. I get to be that, and things get to pursue me. Things get to come to me. I get to be magnetic. I get to manifest from this beautiful energy that feels really fucking good anyways. And that's the prerequisite. You have to know that you're enough first.
Mm-hmm.
So have you read the book Pussy?
I have not. I need
We've
to.
had so many people ask us that this week. The stuff that we talk about and everything, and people ask us all the time if we've read it.
It's amazing. Get it on Audible, and then you can just listen to it.
And the author is, so she has this course in New York City called the School of Womanly Arts. And 2019 is the last year she'll be doing it. And I have heard it is mind-blowing. So I don't know how we're going to get to New York, but we're going to.
Decide and it will happen.
Yes.
Yep.
I know, you're right.
Decide, know why it's of high service for everybody, make a non-negotiable decision, and it'll fucking happen.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Nick, do you want to tell your story from the beginning?
So, from the beginning. So I grew up without a active father. I had a stepfather come into my life around like age 10. But it was really my mom and my grandparents that raised me. The most loving, kind, compassionate people. They were incredible. My grandparents were awesome, but they were a bad example of masculine and feminine energy. They were kind of flipped, but they were incredible people, taught me a lot of things. I grew up pursuing sports, wanted to play in the NBA. I had a daughter very young at the age of 19. Followed that up with another daughter by the time I was 21. So I had two young girls in essentially like I was a teenager still myself.
Yeah, me too.
Got married young, and then in my late 20s, everything went to fucking shit. I went through an awful, horrible divorce that I created. I fully own the fact that like I created that scenario by not walking away from things that weren't for me. But in those moments during the divorce, I thought that the family at that point was my purpose. So I felt like I'd lost my purpose. I'd lost everything. At the time, I'd kind of given up on the basketball dream, and I was working at a school. I'd gone back and I'd gotten my bachelor's degree after like 7 years. Took like 7 years at ASU. And then went through this awful divorce. But during that time, I was latching on to anything spiritual that would make me feel better in my despair, in my suffering, in my fucking misery. It's the first time I ever like considered taking my own life. It's the first time I ever like understood why people get to that point. So from that place, like I connected with like the teachings of Dr. Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Oprah stuff, everything that she recommended. And I had this like spiritual awakening, and I came back to a relationship with my higher self during that time. So did a lot of work on me. I knew I wanted to have love again. I knew I wanted a family, and I wanted more. I didn't just want to be single my entire life. So I knew that my job and my responsibility was to clear any opposition that I had to love and being loved and receiving love. So I did so much inner work on myself. And it wasn't long after my divorce was final. I'm working at the school, and the HR director hands me a resume, and he's like, you might want to look at this one. And I was like, what are you talking about? And so I started reading it, and like this girl has like all these accomplishments, and she went to ASU, and she's applied for a special ed teacher job at the new school that we're opening, where I'm going to be like the kind of like second administrator, just underneath the principal. And I was like, wow, she sounds amazing. I was like, I wonder what she looks like. And so she comes in for an interview, and I'm like, hey, let me know when she comes in. I want to see her. And so they told me, and I remember walking into the office, and she's sitting there on the side, and I took one look at her, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, you guys have to fucking hire her. I don't care if she's a shitty teacher. I don't care if she's awful. I don't care if she's dumb. I don't care if she's like, you have to hire her.
I don't care if she has a criminal record. We're doing that.
I don't fucking care if she doesn't pass the background. We can find ways around that, whatever we have to do. And they made it sound like it wasn't going to happen because like she's very attractive. She's extremely attractive. She actually had a fiance at the time too, which I didn't know about, but I didn't fucking care. Was not of concern to me. We could fix that problem.
Clearly.
So, and the crazy thing is she had opportunities to go to Oregon when she graduated from ASU. She had opportunities to go to Hawaii. She didn't go to Oregon. Hawaii would have meant that she had to board her little dog Stella, and she didn't want to do that. So she said no to all these things. And actually the owner of the private day school I worked for was friends with her mentor teacher at ASU. And they got connected. She's like, I have this amazing girl. You need to hire her. So that's how she actually got connected with us.
Because I never applied for the job. I didn't know the school existed. It was all from the connection of my mentor being good friends with the owner of this school. And that's how they automatically applied me for this job.
All this wild shit had to happen. She gets hired on by the school. She has a fiance at the time, but I'm absolutely smitten. I'm like, I'm just going to play the long game. I'm going to show up for her. I'm going to just drop subtle hints. I'm going to play the long game. This guy's going away eventually, and we're going to be together. And by Christmas of that year, she's fucking miserable, having an awful time with him. She gets rid of him. We start talking. And what?
Was that allowed?
No, I was her supervisor. I should not have been doing any of this. It was
And you do
all not okay
this year.
Yeah, and she got pregnant the next year and claimed
Not
that
like
it was
the next year, like 5 months later.
She had Trey. Yeah, she had Trey like a year and a half later.
Year.
And still claims it was work related because I was her.
I filed workman's comp.
Right?
I was like, this is a work-related health issue.
It happened at work.
Right?
Right.
And they were like, we are not paying for this. And I was like, why not? It happened at work.
You didn't watch that slips, trips, and falls video, apparently.
Yeah. We weren't safe apparently. There was an incident at work. But so we work out, obviously. Here we are. What I thought was like my life and my family was over. Now I have this amazing wife. It's everything I ever wanted. I've talked about this on other podcasts where I literally manifested exactly like a beautiful brunette who's kind and amazing and has just a great booty. I literally manifested her and she showed up out of nowhere. So that's the thing with manifesting too. Like, don't think that you have to know all the steps. Just trust that the right person is going to show up when you call them in.
Yeah.
Or the money, the clients, whatever, it's going to show up.
Yeah, my man's coming this year.
He is, for certain. Especially you embodying your feminine in this way. Like, so I often say this to women, if you are not embodying who you're meant to be and in your feminine, like the man that's for you couldn't find you.
Exactly.
And so by you being you and being the fucking flower and amazing, the right, amazing, masculine man who's living his fucking purpose, has all your requirements, beautiful penis, whatever it is, like all of that stuff gets to fucking happen now that you know what you want. Just like writing that down, yeah. Beautiful penis.
Writing it down. Measuring girth, inches, all that.
And don't hold back. Like you get to have everything that you want. You don't have to settle for anything less.
Yeah.
What was I talking about?
After you manifested me.
Okay, so I manifested her, but I was still working at this fucking school and not living my purpose. I was doing the school we worked at first and foremost was for kids that had been kicked out of or removed from other schools because other schools could not handle them. These were like the best of the best, the worst of the worst in the state of Arizona.
What is it? What school was it?
It was called the Aces, and it's a great private school for kids who they can't handle the public schools. The Aces did a wonderful job of being able to support these kids. Great structure, great everything. But it was not my highest expression. But I was great at both instituting behavioral change in these kids. I had the gangbangers that wanted to kill me. I've been stabbed, spit on, kicked, threatened.
I've had concussions.
Courtney was telling the story the other day of the kid that brought a knife to stab me and then threatened to come to our house and kill me. And I gave him our address.
Wow.
While I was pregnant.
Yeah, while she was pregnant. I was wild back then. Yeah.
Like, babe.
Don't do that. I was like, he's not going to fucking remember it anyways. Don't worry about it. Other kids in the room might have, but some that didn't like me. But I loved the job, but it wasn't the highest expression of my purpose. So they had actually convinced me, like, go back to school. We need a principal for new campuses that we're going to open. So those of you that, if they're listening to this podcast, fuck you guys for telling me that shit. Not to hold a grudge or anything. So I went and I got my principalship through ASU, spent all $30,000 on a master's and all this. A new school didn't open up. My principal was leaving and going to another school. So my school that I'd helped open, I ran everything. I knew everything that was going on, the ins and outs of the school. it was open for a principalship. And I applied and didn't get the fucking job. After they told me I was the next one in line. Best thing that ever happened to me though, because I was so pissed that I got really hungry about discovering what the next step for us was. And it took a while, but I knew in myself, like I was headed down the wrong path of living this way, that something had to fucking happen. And I remember seeing a video of people talking about how you can be an online coach. Like you can coach and get paid. And I'm like, fuck, I'm coaching people already. Every day after school, there's a line of like our staff that are waiting here for me to give them life advice and to life coach them. I was like, I already have all this. So long story, a little less long, I decide finally to leave teaching and I decide I'm going to become a coach. I thought at first that I was going to be like a fitness coach. I thought I was going to be like a trainer for like athletes. Now I coach athletes because that was always the passion. That was always the purpose in the first place. So I quit a year before Courtney did. And, a family of 6 to support. I left because I knew I couldn't stay in something that wasn't serving me. I had to pursue the purpose. And finding out what my purpose was, that opened the pathway for all of this and what we have now, and Courtney stepping into hers. And for those that don't know the story, last March, April, we made the decision to leave Arizona, move to California. We live in a beautiful house here in the marina. We have a multi six-figure coaching business. We serve people all over the world. I serve professional athletes. Like we are living an ideal life because we had the courage to step into what we knew really was for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when all like logically and in your brain, you're thinking, this is not safe. This is not like what's safe and stable is the careers that we went to school for. And so many people stay there for their entire lives because of the fear of, well, but on paper, this doesn't seem like this could work out. And what if? Yeah. And I love when I see people stepping out and taking that risk. And then showing that, fuck, not only can you make a living, but you can be crazy successful doing it.
Right. Yeah. There's a ceiling on what you can earn. I remember thinking that. I was like, we have between the two of us almost $250,000 in student loan debt. I was like, we'll pay that off when we're like fucking 80. Like we're going to continue to work and we'll never get to retire. I was like, this fucking sucks. There has to be another way. And it's beautiful the fact that me pursuing my purpose and Courtney pursuing hers, we get to make so much more money than would have ever been available to us had we stayed in those safe, cushy jobs.
Yeah,
there were times where it didn't go well. Like there were times where we like could barely scrape by, but we were always supported. And like here on the other side, like never in a million years would I change anything that we did.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what were some of the shifts that you had to go through? So when you decided, I want to do online coaching, I don't know what that is, but I think I want to do it because I feel like I've already been doing it. What were some of the obstacles, like emotionally and with your thought process that you had to shift?
Yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost was recognizing if I continue to do this, I'm going to die this way. Like, I don't want to die with this purpose left in me. I don't want to like burn my family and my life down again. And sometimes like the job that pays you okay and has good benefits, that's actually the most dangerous job because that's the one that you'll stay in and just kill your purpose slowly over time. It's like high blood pressure, like it kills you silently.
Right.
So I first of all deciding that and deciding, okay, I need to know what my life's purpose is and what that looks like for me expressing it to the world. So I was just fucking hungry for that. And I just always prioritize that. I put my purpose, which I believe are the feelings and emotions that you're meant to create for yourself and then share with other people. And in sharing with other people, you get to monetize it. I put my purpose above everything else, above comfort, above like what other people would say, above a 401k or benefits or health insurance or all that. I just knew that I would be supported by God if I was doing what God called me and created me to do. That was the biggest one.
How did you know that was your purpose?
So this is funny as well. So the summer that I quit the teaching job, I'm still trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out like online business, how I can get clients and training. I'm like offering to train anybody's kids in soccer, basketball, golf, whatever. I'll fucking do anything. And I apply for this scholarship to this event where you discover what your life's purpose is. It was in Pasadena. We were living in Phoenix at the time, had like no money. I apply for it like literally 15 minutes before the deadline. We got home from First Friday in Phoenix at like 11:30, 11:45. I make a video and I submit it. Don't even think about it. I check back a few days later. I see an email come through. My name's on the list of scholarship winners. I was like,
oh, awesome.
Courtney's like, you got to go. I was like, I don't know how we can fucking go. Like, we don't have money for even me to get there, let alone like hotel, anything like that. She's like, you got to go. My dad, my stepdad at the time, who had never like really given me money, he just randomly gives me, I think like 60, 80 bucks, something like that, just gives me cash. Probably felt bad because I didn't have a job or teachers, summer, whatever. I don't even know why. And so I was like, all right, I'll go. And so I go and I sleep in my car for 4 days, have like one of the most amazing emotional experiences of my life, discover what my purpose is, get clarity. It was my first introduction into discussions about masculine and feminine energy. So I come back from this and I'm like, babe, I understand you finally. Like, I understand.
Oh, I remember when he said that, he called me and he was like, I understand everything you were always saying to me. Like, you just wanted to feel safe. I lost
She
it.
was bawling.
I was like,
oh, you get me. You understand me. Oh
because
my
it was
God.
like so many years and so many conversations of like me not understanding the verbiage of what I was trying to express. And him being frustrated because I don't understand what I'm trying to say.
What the fuck do you want me to do? What do you want from me? Yeah.
And so it was like, and he always felt like it was a stab at him, but I was like, I don't know what I'm trying to tell you. And so for him to call me that time and be like, I get it. I understand what you're saying. You just always wanted to be safe and know that you are safe. And I was just like, I cried for so long just because I was like, he gets me.
Yeah. So it was a perfect experience. Like, my willingness to make it fucking happen no matter what was everything. I had some money come in that allowed me to get home too. But really at that, like I pivoted from wanting to do like fitness coaching to realizing I'm meant to be a fucking life coach. And I owned that in that moment, and everything expanded from there.
I was talking to one of my personal training clients, and we were having a discussion about the importance of working on the internal and working within, and that the outside is just going to continue to stay where it's at until we work on the inside. And that we as a world, as a human race, are starting to see this value.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
My prediction is that there is going to be a point where it's reversed. People are valuing having some type of a life coach in some aspect of their life that they're feeling like they're stuck and struggling with, over having a personal trainer.
I mean, we know that everything happens from the inside out anyways. So it actually makes sense to have a life coach for your business, or a life coach for your relationship, or a life coach for your health and well-being, for all of that. Like Courtney's story, she couldn't release weight and allow it to really come off because a part of her didn't feel safe. If I get too sexy, I'm going to be unsafe, and I'm going to have all these unwanted approaches by men, and all these things are going to happen. So it wasn't until she felt internally safe with herself and with her body that she allowed like the weight to really come off.
Right. Yeah. And that was, I mean, it was a little bit of a struggle for me for a little while, just thinking when I was wanting to shift it from being an online coach, personal training coach, to more of a mindset and, mental coach. And because I thought there's like, who's going to pay for that? Like there's, they come to you because they're going to get this program of all these workouts, and they're going to get a program of either like all the foods they can eat, or they're going to get their macro calculations. So they're like tangibly getting something. And if they follow it, they're going to get these physical results on the outside. And I like, that was my block, is just thinking nobody's going to want to pay for this. And I really had to work through that and just trust and believe that people are going to see this value. And the more that I show up and continually show like how important this is and how beautiful this is, and the more that I embody this, people are going to see the shift within me, and they're going to be like, fuck, I want that. I want that.
And you all are a demonstration of that, not just physically,
right?
Mentally and emotionally, and your level of happiness and joy, and like Courtney standing for like, I get to have it all because I do. And I'm not flaunting this because you can't have it.
Right.
I'm flaunting this because I want you to understand that you get to have it too. And the inner work is the pathway to that. It always is.
Yeah.
I think one of the turning points for us too is when we started to get down to the nitty gritty of why do women lose the weight? Why do they shed the weight? Why are they able to live a happy life? It's because they've done the internal work.
Wow.
Because what we found is, and even within ourselves, I think that's where it started, is because when we started to realize like cardio and macros wasn't our answer to losing weight. It was releasing those blocks. It was healing ourselves from the inside out. It was feeling safe, like you, Courtney, or it was feeling like emotionally like we had healed. And then everything on the outside started to fall into place. So all of that, the weight loss or the body image or all of that, all that starts within. It doesn't start in the outside. And I think that's another shift that's happening too, is people are starting to understand that going to the gym, counting your macros, counting your calories, whatever, you can do that as much as you want, but your rules, your self-sabotage, that still comes into play because emotionally you're still in that place.
Right.
So if we can heal that first, then the rest, it's like a domino effect.
Totally.
And if you don't have an internal world that allows for you to succeed or to lose the weight or to feel sexy or whatever your goal is, then one, you'll sabotage it even before it happens. But there's those people who are like, they can push back beyond that. They can shut off all the emotions and they can create a result, but then it isn't sustainable because they don't have an emotional foundation to be able to live in that. So to create like sustainable, lasting change, like it has to happen from the inside out. It like there's no way around it.
Right.
You may circumvent it initially, but like that's when the self-sabotage happens, is when you create results that you're not comfortable living in.
Right.
And it comes up somewhere else. Like we've seen, like, okay, so you lost 100 pounds, but now you have this eating disorder.
Right.
Not binge eating anymore. Now it's anorexia. Or you lost the weight and now you have fibromyalgia, or now you have, you know, pre-diabetes, whatever it is, it comes up in some way.
Yeah. Unless you work on releasing those trapped emotions and, you know, healing those wounds and that trauma, if that physical weight is taken off and the wounds are not healed and the energy isn't released, that's going to manifest in other forms, which is going to be physical ailments.
Yeah. Autoimmune, all sorts of things can happen.
Yeah. So they might not have the physical weight anymore, but that energy is still there and it's still toxic and it's affecting them in a different way. So it's so important that we work on the inside.
Everything.
You cannot get around it, like what you said.
And even like Courtney teaches with the femininity, the scientific reason why that's so effective, just stepping into your feminine, is because you're no longer producing all this cortisol by being in your fucking masculine. So all the hormones and stuff, they balance out when you're operating your feminine, and all the weight can just fall off naturally. And you come to a place of homeostasis and balance in your life because you're not forcing yourself to be something that you're naturally not.
There's another book that I think that you would love, Courtney. It's called Vagina. And it talks.
That was brought up in my Elevate call today.
Vagina.
Everybody's going to love these books. And it is more of a medical model. And it talks about the intrinsic and physiological connection between our brain and our vagina as women. And even how speaking derogatory or misogynistic words about women affects our brain. You know, if anything happens to the vagina, like everything is so connected physiologically. It's beautiful. And it's kind of just like another added element. I mean, because, you know, if you read pussy first and you're like, fuck yes. And then you read vagina and you're like, oh yes.
Makes sense.
Oh, you know, like I've got
all coming together.
And I've got the medical, you know. But so a couple more things. The first one was that I wanted to give you a shout out, Nick, and Courtney, of course. But because the turning point for me was when I was on that really crappy connection driving to a work meeting down at district office. And I was on a call with you and I was talking about my purpose and I was talking about these blocks. And you said, well, something to the effect of, well, Summer, you know, you like I see that's your purpose. Like coaching is your purpose. Coaching is your direction. I was like, what the, I don't even, are you sure?
It was always very clear to me.
And so like, that was the catalyst to me, like, maybe I could, maybe that is right. And as I started to follow that path, everything started to scream at me that yes, 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 that's where this is meant to go. And it's just been such a beautiful journey since then. And I remember calling Carrie and being like, I think I've been coaching this whole time, but I haven't called it coaching.
Duh.
And like, I'm not scared.
Like, no shit.
Yeah.
And Carrie's like, good job.
Yes.
Good job. And then it was that December, right after we finished our program, that I was like, we need to start coaching. So it was just such a beautiful, incredible transition. And I appreciate you so much for that and for all the other millions of things that happened when we were coaching.
I love you. I'm so proud of you for stepping into that and being, it's one of the hardest things for people to own, that you really do have a purpose that isn't maybe what you went to school for. And that, like, just owning, like, I can be a coach for people. I can help people. I can serve people. I there's parts of me that doesn't feel qualified, but being able to step into that. And I think your story is a beautiful example of when you start to say yes to the purpose and the desire and all those things, everything just like magically begins to fall into your lap and open up for you, and all the right things align. And the women who have always needed you in their life can now see you, and you're there to help them.
I know, it feels so incredible, and it has been so magical. Oh my God, it's been amazing. Yeah. Every moment has just been like, we're so grateful for every moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We go on and on about that for hours.
Yeah.
But,
well, since we're boosting your ego,
yeah.
I want to give my little 2 cents on, because like I had said earlier in the beginning of the podcast, that you were one of the coaches in one of the very first programs that I went into. And I went to, and I've actually made a post about it, how I went to that convention in, where was that? San Diego? No, it wasn't. Where was that?
Somewhere.
It was LA, Venice area. Yeah.
And that's when I had my just like literal breakdown and like, oh my God, like my life is going to crumble apart, realization that I haven't healed from sexual trauma. And this is affecting all parts of my life, literally all parts of my life, my business, my relationships, my feelingness of worth. I mean, just everything. And I just wanted to run and just go home and crawl into a hole, because I just didn't know how to handle it. And you were there along with other people as well that were just so beautiful and just said the most perfect words. And it really helped me to just ground and be there and be in the moment and feel the pain and feel the realization and feel supported. And then when I got home, I had a coaching call with you, and I have no idea what you said, what the actual words were, but you gave me this beautiful, I actually wrote it down, but you gave me this beautiful affirmation of, just to say to myself that this is not my fault, and, just beautiful words. And it just, I just bawled when you gave it to me, because it resonated with my soul, but I didn't fully believe it. So I needed to say it over and over again that, I am worthy of whatever I desire, and this was not my fault. And that was the start of my healing process over the year of 2018. And it's just been beautiful to see how much that moment in Venice Beach has affected so much of my life, and my willingness to face it, open it, face it, and then realize that I had support around me, and then to be able to continue to go along the journey of healing it. And that's just, you were there at that starting point, and I appreciate that, and I'll never forget it. So thank you.
Oh, that's amazing.
I love you so much, and I'm so proud of you for, one, having the courage to speak that into the world, but then also to be able to be supported. And there's a lot of women probably listening to this who have something that they need to express, have something that they need to work through, and they don't feel worthy of support. They don't feel safe in being supported. But you allowing yourself to be supported opened up so much, just healing for yourself, but also now because you did that, Summer's where she is.
Yeah.
Because you and Summer are doing this, so many women are going to be touched and healed and all that. And it all began with the courage and the willingness to open up and to receive and to be supported, even though parts of you just wanted to shut down.
Right.
And in those moments, like, I always knew that this is where you were going. I have this like innate just gift for being able to see what's possible in people and see what their future looks like when they really own that and they heal and they step into their purpose. And there was never a doubt that you were meant to do this. Not like, I always knew you were great at like personal training and all that. Like, the passion was there, But there was a deeper purpose behind the pain that you experienced, everything. And to watch you bring it to life this year and to commit to everything that you have, like it's so inspiring. And I love that I got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me want to cry. I love it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I was going to ask one more question, but it seems off topic now that we're like high vibing.
It's okay.
Okay. My last question is, and I think probably people are wondering, how are you so sure? How are you so sure of your relationship with God or your manifesting potential or what's going to happen? How do you get into that space of complete and absolute knowing?
It's built on a foundation. It's not anything rocky. It's not like hope. It's absolute fucking certainty about my connection with God, my knowing, my trust in universal law. You know this when I teach Elevate, my signature course, that we don't begin with anything external. We begin with connection with yourself, your vibration, your energy, your frequency, your certainty, and universal law and principle that you can trust and is constant and unchanging. And if people can really ground themselves in the truth that they know is constant and unchanging, you never have to have an experience of worry. You never have to have an experience of uncertainty. Even when you're stepping into shit that is new and you don't necessarily know what it's going to look like, you can always ground yourself in the truth that I am supported, I am taken care of, I am loved, and the highest and best is always happening for my life.
Yes.
I love that. That's perfect. Courtney, did you have anything to add?
I was just going to say that, like, we don't question so many things. Like, we don't question gravity. And I know this is a topic we talked about, like, as an example. But when it comes to manifesting in truth and universal laws, like, those are the same as gravity. That's like, we don't question gravity and we don't question these universal laws. And so that's really where the knowing comes from, is just that it's there. It's a knowing, and we've experienced it ourselves. We've watched other people experience it. And so you don't question it when you experience it, not once, not twice, but over and over and over and over again. And that it's just like, you don't question it at all.
We had to believe it before we ever saw it. But then once you see the evidence of it, like, it just enforces that belief over and over. And it's a beautiful cycle that, like, I can never pretend like I don't fucking know what the truth is. I can never pretend. Like, I can give myself an experience of fear and be like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. I always know I'm supported. Like, I have to pay to go to, like, horror nights at Universal Studios just so I can experience fear because I have such a strong
Oh, that's awesome.
Love it.
We love you guys so much.
We love you guys.
So dear. We cannot wait to hug you in person.
Yes.
Party.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tear shit up.
We just think that we just see you guys as such amazing people, and we respect everything that you guys teach and how you show up and all of that. And we were just so excited when you guys accepted this invitation to be on our podcast, because so many people are going to benefit from it.
We were so excited to come on. We love you. We are so proud that you guys are actually, like, doing this and putting it out into the world. It's so fucking needed. So we will always support anything that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. We love
you. You have our full endorsement. Thank you.
Yes.
Love you guys.
Yay! I'm going to put that in writing.
You got it. It's on video now.
Okay, perfect.
Hold it against me.
Follow Instagram. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook.